Hey guys, and welcome to Petrol Ped, and welcome to the 2018 Suzuki Swift Sport. Now, you may have seen earlier this year I drove the Suzuki Swift Booster Jet, and that was really a precursor to driving this car. I knew it was coming. The guys from Worthing Suzuki contacted me and said it was coming, and then when I was at Geneva I made a beeline for the Suzuki stand to take a good look. And this car has been out in the UK for less than a week, and I'm really grateful to Worthing Suzuki for letting me play with their new demonstrator today. This car's got less than 300 miles on the clock. I just think this is a really intriguing car. So let's take a bit of a look around. It's clearly in a pretty gary colour. It's called Champion Yellow, this car. And obviously some pretty subtle branding, just in case you didn't know it was the new Suzuki Swift Sport. Let's take a look around. Really interesting car for lots and lots of reasons, both aesthetically but also from a performance point of view. Let's just start at the rear of the car. My favourite view of this car, and actually probably the view that most drivers are going to get of one of these things, because they are pretty rapid. I love the twin exhaust exits there. I just think it looks really smart there. Proper exhaust pipes as well, none of these fake tips. And then this kind of material, it's, I guess, a kind of faux carbon fibre, but that kind of diffuser, and it runs all the way down the sides of the car as well on those side sills. Just gives it a kind of premium feel. Boot-wise, the boot's actually a pretty decent size. Certainly for this segment of car, there's no kind of slouch there. Plenty of space in the boot, and you can drop the seats down if you want to put extra large things in there. So pretty practical on the side. But what I like about this car, and as I said, this car's spec really nicely, but this is the spec. Now, if you go onto the configurator of one of these, pretty much the only thing you can choose are some decal packs. You can have stripes and so on. They've got these really tasteful nut caps and centre caps for the wheels. I don't think many people are going to choose those. You can have things like mats, which this car has. So there's not a great deal you can add to the car. Let's take a look at the sort of side profile on the wheels, because I think the wheels are pretty special actually. So along with the kind of standard equipment, privacy glass as standard, but these diamond cut wheels I just think look really smart. 17-inch wheels, shod with 195/45 Conti Sport Contact 5 tyres. I've only driven the car from Worthing back to the barn, but they're pretty grippy, to be honest. For a car of the class, it's trying to strike this balance between kind of hot sporty performance but everyday usable practical car. And we can see these sills running along in this kind of faux carbon look as well. But I think the side profile of the car is really smart, and then the front, I just think it's got a happy face to it, this car. So let's have a jump inside and have a chat about standard equipment, because it's a really well spec'd car. We need to have a think about price, and then the most important thing is I just want to get out on the road and drive it, because this is a put a smile on your face car. It really is. It's a real cracker. Now, certainly from a cabin space point of view, I'm a tall guy. You've got plenty of this doesn't have reach adjustment, although it does have tilt adjustment. The seat's pretty adjustable. I've got loads of room. This is me set up as I would like to drive it, but I've probably still got, I don't know, 3 or 4 inches worth of travel there in the seat, so plenty of room. I need to kind of just put that seat forward a little bit just to give me a nice kind of space between me and the wheel. But from a kind of setup for driving, it's a really nice position. Pedal spacing's okay. I've not got the best pedal spacing from brake to throttle for heel toe, but you can do it. So let's have a bit of a chat about this kind of dashboard layout, because I think it actually looks quite cool in here. Yes, there's lots of plastic in here, but this is a budget level car, so you would kind of expect that, but from a tech point of view, it's very well appointed. So certainly this cabin is appointed really well. These sports seats are really, really comfy. They've got lovely bolsters on the side, so you get a really nice support when you're driving the car. But from a tech point of view, this car has pretty much all the gadgets you'd want. It's got collision avoidance, it's got lane departure warning, it's got a full touchscreen MMI with sat-nav, it's got loads of steering mounted controls, it's got cruise control, DAB radio, we've mentioned the privacy glass, we've mentioned the diamond cat alloys. There's a lot of kit in this car, and the amazing thing, so the base price for this car is actually $17,999, but at the moment they've got a deal on. I think it runs till the end of June, where they're going to give 1,500 quid off of that. So it kind of brings it into a really interesting bracket against cars, I guess, like probably the VW Up, maybe the Fiesta ST, those types of things. Now I know that there'll be a kind of brand snob issue going on here, but this car's all about the driving. But before we do that, I'm going to just jump in the back and have a quick chat about practicality and leg space in the back. Let's go. Now, here we go. I'm going to have to do that, I'm afraid. It's a small hatch. It's going to be pretty tight in the back. I can sit in here. I wouldn't want to be in for a long time. I mean, the legroom's not great. My seat could go forward quite a lot. Plenty of headroom. Plenty of space for certainly 2 adults at a squeeze, 3 small adults, or 2 adults and a child in the middle. But yeah, not bad, not bad. Next thing we need to have a think about is what's under the bonnet. So we've had a look inside and out. Last thing to do before we take it up the road is just quickly pop the bonnet and have a chat about what's underneath there. Now, they're never anything good to look at, modern engines. This is going to be a plastic cover basically. But the difference between this car and the previous Swift Sport is that this has got a 1.4 turbocharged engine. The previous car had a 1.6. But it's a really, really cheeky little power unit, this. So 1.4 booster jet turbo is how Suzuki referred to it. 138 bhp, which doesn't sound a lot, but the whole car only weighs just shy of a ton, 975 kilos. But the big thing, the big news about this is the torque. It's a really torquey little engine. It's got 162 pound-feet of torque. The outgoing car only had 110, so it's got on my brief drive so far, very, very torquey, punchy feeling little car. 0 to 60 time is about 8 seconds, not going to set the world on fire, but a car of this size and class, pretty impressive, 130 miles an hour top end. But apparently this unit will do about 47 mpg combined cycle, which is pretty good. And you know, just if you're wanting the kind of whole polar bear eating thing, considering my recent video, it does 135 grams per kilometre. So a really nice little powerful, sporty feeling engine. So I reckon we jump in this car, take it up the road and put it through its paces on some of my favourite roads. Oh, this is the fun bit. A little car like this is all about driving. Start stop button. The dash is really interesting. I'm going to get some music come on here, so I'll make sure I turn that off straight away. Dash has got some really interesting displays, some of which I must say are probably completely pointless, but there you go. There we go, I'm about to get some music. We'll get out and put it through its paces. As I said, I've had a short drive of this car just from Worthing back to Chichester, and big smile time. So I think we just need to kind of talk about the driving dynamics of the car, because it is a real cracker. Okay, here we go. It's not the most characterful tone in the world. In fact, it doesn't really make a great noise, if I'm honest. But this car's not about the noise. You kind of have to reset your barometer to, you know, what I would call, this is a micro hot hatch. And they're about being able to drive quickly, but within the bounds of the speed limit. You can have a really great time in this car without going stupidly fast. And I like that a lot. It's what I love about my Mini, although actually my Mini's pretty quick, to be fair. But you can chuck them around, you can rev them out in the gears, and you can really feel like you're maximising the performance of the car. And when you look down at the speedo, you're not doing stupid miles an hour. I like that. The displays in the middle of the dash, difficult for me to get while I'm driving. At the moment I've got like a boost gauge, and they've got things like I can have you know, continuous MPG and MPG broken down into the last sort of 5-minute chunks. I've got the normal kind of G meter, and I've also got a torque and power meter, which aren't calibrated, so they're just there for kind of show, really. The one display though that is missing is a big digital speedo. I just don't, unless it's in the menu somewhere and I haven't found it. That's my only grumble with that. But the main dash, it looks okay, it's fine. But you get so used nowadays to having a digital speedo somewhere, and it's just a reference. It's so much easier to quickly glance down, see a digital speedo, than look at an analog traditional odometer and try and work out how fast you're going. Now then, what better test of a torquey, nippy little sports car like this than the Petrol Ped hill climb? I think this should perform really well. It's got loads of low down punch. Down into third. So the front end is pretty sticky, to be honest. There's a little bit of understeer. That's not bad at all. I'm in third. There's loads of torque. And you know what, there's absolutely loads of torque there. It's really nice. It doesn't top out at all, and you can really chuck the car in with a lot of confidence. And it gives you a big smile on your face and loads of grip. And that was all in third, pretty much. Gearbox is pretty good. It's not the most perfect change, but it's not bad. And then when you actually put it into a corner, the car really does hang on in there. This lane drift warning is a bit annoying. Whenever you go across the central white line for any reason, it kind of comes up with a little flash on the screen. A really nice torquey responsive engine. However, one of the things that is the standout feature so far for me in this car are the brakes. The brakes are brilliant. I mean, when you first jump in the car and you come up to a corner and you put the brakes on, it's like, whoa, like this, because they're really, really sharp. They're really nice. The other thing to mention about this car, I guess, from a performance point of view, is this is a really new car. Sorry, new demonstrator. What has he got? 299 miles. In fact, we're about to go through the 300th mile of the car, so I'm sure it will loosen up as it kind of gets more and more run in. But yeah, pretty good Petrol Ped hill climb. I think the next thing we need to do is a 0 to 60 test. Okay, 0 to 60 test. 3, 2, 1. Like all manual cars, they're really difficult. You need lots of practice to work out where the best biting point is, the best revs to drop the throttle. I'm only going to do one test. It's a new car. Not bad. Because it's got a lot of torque, kind of didn't dig down too much, which is quite unusual for a turbocharged car, I guess. But yeah, not a bad 0 to 60. Now I think we need to do a stopping test. Okay, so the 0 to 60 test was okay. I think where this car is going to excel is on the 60 to 0. So at a safe moment, I'm on a national speed limit, I'll take it up to 60, and then we'll just put the anchors on and see what happens. So I'm at 60 and brake. Yeah, it's got some good anchors on it. It's also got the braking avoidance, you know, where the flashes go when you really, really brake hard. I think it's always a kind of badge of honour when you're pushing on in a car and you brake really hard into a corner and those flickers come on. It kind of shows you're on it a little bit. But yeah, pretty good 0 to 60 and 60 to 0 test. Engine's pretty revvy. Revs, the red line is kind of just about 6.5, I guess. I've not really needed to go up beyond about 6, because a lot of the power's low down. The road manners on the, when you get a little bit more speed, the higher speed flowing corners, very good. Not feeling a huge amount of understeer. You can provoke it if you want to. Not a huge amount of torque steer either, which is pretty good. This is the kind of corner where it comes into its own. Really good on the brakes. And it just has a really sticky front end. Gearbox is going to take a little bit of getting used to. It's not the slickest of changes, but it really has a nice feeling to it. And you know, I'm doing all of this within the speed limit, which is just fantastic fun. And it's very chuckable. That's probably the best description of this car, very chuckable. So for the last bit of this test, I thought I would bring the car out onto a bit of dual carriageway just to see what it's like at the kind of higher speed motorway cruising type driving. You certainly get up to speed very quickly, and it's a pretty well behaved car at speed. It's quite small, and you know, sometimes you kind of get a lot of road noise in these types of cars. You do get some road noise, but it's not too bad, and it's not too drony, and it kind of sits at motorway speeds really, really nicely. You've got cruise control if you want. The lane departure warning, I have found out how to turn it off. There's a row of buttons down the bottom actually. I can turn collision avoidance, lane departure, traction control, and auto start stop off if I want to. And to be honest, I could probably turn that off. But yeah, on the dual carriageway, it's a really well behaved little car. I really like the cabin. I love this kind of graduated red touch on the doors and on the dash, because it kind of ties in really nicely with the dials, and it's not trying to be carbon, and it's not trying to be a really kind of high-end expensive car and failing. It's just a nice touch, and it makes it a nice place to be. So I can imagine you could do a long journey in here, you know. So guys, that brings me to the end of my time with the little Suzuki Swift Sport. I'm just on my way back to the dealership to drop it off. Final impressions of the car. It's a real cracker, a really, really surprising little car this. Punchy little engine, lots of torque, great performance, but not exceptional performance, but you can really exploit it on a normal road in normal conditions without losing your license, and I like that. You can really drive it. It's a real driver's car. To try and be balanced, things I'm not so keen on. The gearbox isn't brilliant for me. There's could be just a little bit more. It's a little bit vague. Could just be a little bit tighter. Pedal spacing a little bit off. Comfort wise, it's great. I really like the interior for the money. I think, you know, the choice of materials is okay. There's lots of plastic in here, but then that's to be expected. I love the fact that it's a standard spec. You just get everything, and it's a really well equipped car. Can I compare it with the VW Up GTI and the Fiesta ST? No, because I haven't driven those cars, so I can't say whether it's worse or better. All I can say is, boy, would those cars have to be on their game from a driving experience anyway. They'd have to be right up there to kind of be with this. This is a really lovely little car to drive. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I always like to try and bring a balance of different types of cars. I've been looking forward to driving this car much of the year, since I drove the little booster jet earlier on in the year. I've been looking forward to driving it. Massive thank you to Mark and all the guys at Worthing Suzuki. When the new demonstrator was coming in, Mark emailed me about 2 weeks ago and said, look, you know, the new demonstrator's coming in. Let's get a time. Oh, collision. Oh, hello, cheeky. What's that for? Let's get a time in the diary for you to drive the car. So massive thank you to them. But I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have done so, give me a thumbs up. Comments below are always welcome, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Petrol for plenty more content to come, and I'll see you guys on the next film. But anyway, from the Suzuki Swift Sport, you take care guys, drive safe.